Hey, what's up? We are live, episode 12 of Ask a Realtor. Let's give folks a couple of minutes to get logged in here. Kick it off with some tunes like always. And then we'll get rocking and rolling into the topics. We'll just do a quick post here, let everyone know that we're live. We'll get rolling. Break out my chat box, and if you're watching live, leave me a little comment. Let me know what's up. We'll start it off here. Hey there. Thanks for checking out. Ask a Realtor. Sure to chime in with questions and stories. Beautiful. All right. Welcome to the channel. I'm Colorado Joe Ausmus with eXp Realty, and you are watching Ask a Realtor. Hopefully you're here with us live, but if not, we record every single session here and they are saved on the channel, so you can always go back and watch previous Ask a Realtors and get your learn on there. We've covered all sorts of fun topics, and we're just getting started. This is a weekly thing here Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. So if you could do me a favor and hit subscribe on the channel below, then it will notify you when I am going live. So that way, if you are, available and you want to check it out and you happen to get that notification pop up saying that the channel is going live, then it'll cue you in to dial in and check it out. So it's always more fun when we have live interactions because we can talk about things on here real time. And we might get a little off topic, but that's the beauty of this is I kind of set it up that way. I like to start with a preloaded topic and then just see where it takes us from there. So if you have questions as we go through or stories, definitely just drop them into that chat box. And we're going to kick it off here today then with our preloaded topic for the meanwhile, which we are talking about the loan process. And this is geared towards newbies, folks that have never bought a home before, never obtained a mortgage before. I am actually going off of a mortgage toolkit that one of my trusted lender partners, Lisa Gamara with Supreme Lending. Shout out to you, Lisa. She put this thing together specifically for you first-time home buyers to answer your questions and to just give you some solid advice for getting started. So if you're thinking of getting into buying a home this year or anything, let me know if you want a copy of this toolkit, and I'd be happy to send it out to you. You can leave an email address or just send me an email afterwards. My email is down in the description of the video, right? So shoot me a message there. Phone number's there. You can text me and say, hey, Joe, hook me up with that mortgage toolkit. I want to learn more. So I'll send it your way. But I'm gonna kind of go from a high level overview because I am not a licensed mortgage loan originator. I am a licensed realtor. So I'm going to stay in my lane and just give you a very high level overview of some mortgage related topics without diving into the nitty gritty that really you want to be talking to a lender about. So if you have those questions, I'm not discouraging you from asking them, but just be prepared that what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the pro that's in that field. I'm going to be reaching out to my mortgage peeps to get you the correct information. And if you want, I can connect you directly with them, and that way you can have a conversation about your personal financial situation with the qualified licensed lender. Cool. All right. Let's get cracking. Let's get started. So, basically, what we're going to cover today, we're going to talk about pre-qualification versus pre-approval. Those are not interchangeable. They're not the same thing. So, I want to kind of cover the difference there and which one is better. All right. Also, want to give you a high-level overview of the loan process as it relates to buying a house, the real estate transaction. So, kind of give you from the lending perspective kind of the steps that are involved with that. Because we talk a whole lot about the transaction, inspections, appraisals, things like that here from my realtor perspective. So wanted to kind of shed a different light on that topic here for you today. So we're going to talk about that one and then mortgage do's and don'ts. So definitely stay tuned for that part too, because I've got some solid advice for you. Nice. Let's get into it. Let me check on the chat real quick and make sure we don't have any questions or comments right up front. Okay. A little quiet on the chat tonight. That's great. I'm going to dive right into what I got pulled up here. Beautiful. But definitely throw chats out as we go and we'll roll with the punches, right? Awesome. Cool. Alrighty. So first thing that I wanted to talk to you about was the pre-qualification versus pre-approval. A pre-qualification is the initial step number one in the home loan process. A borrower will discuss their financial situation with the loan officer to get an overall picture to the size of the mortgage they can afford. So that's what a pre-qual does for you is it gives you a snapshot based on stated income, stated assets, stated credit scores. So pre-qual, you might be pre-qualified for 500K. That's great. You can get a pre-qual letter based on that. But in the letter, it's going to say this is subject to us verifying A, B, C, D, E, F, G. All this information we need to verify before we can move to pre-approval. A pre-approval is much more involved. For pre-approval, the consumer can voluntarily supply the lender with the necessary docs to dive deeper into the borrower's financial background. This is where the lender is going to be able to tell how much the borrower is approved for, which loan product is the best option, and it gives a better idea of the rate too. Um, all that plays a factor, and you can kind of get a feeling for that stuff in the pre-qual phase, but really you got to get the full locked in pre-approval to really know what path is going to be best for you. And you might have a couple of different options. You might have a loan type such as a government-backed loan. It's an FHA loan, or you might be able to flip that to a conventional loan. And there's pros and cons to each, right? So what a good lender will do is if they can get you qualified for both, kind of lay out a scenario for you, especially if you are talking about a specific property. They can plug in the taxes for that property, any homeowner association dues for that property, as well as the purchase price that you're planning on writing an offer for. They can plug all that in so that we can truly know like even what payments will look like with the FHA versus the conventional, for example. You don't get to that step in the pre-qual because there's too many unknowns. So the pre-approval is the more involved process. And by the way, if two offers came in on the same property, all things being the same, one borrower had a pre-qual letter and one had the pre-approval letter, which one do you think is going to be considered the stronger offer? All other things being the same, price, terms, all that. It's going to be that pre-approval. They're further along in the process. They've already crossed some bridges that customer that's only pre-qualified has not yet. So that buyer still has some steps to take, and there's potentially more pitfalls for them if their debt to income ratios don't look good. If we pull credit and there's a whole bunch of stuff on there that didn't come up in the initial conversation, the borrower forgot about it or didn't realize it was on there. Maybe it's on there by mistake, and we need to go in and go get that stuff taken off of their credit before they can actually pull the trigger and buy. I mean, by the time you get all that done, with the way that the market is, that house is going to be sold to another buyer. So, I mean, imagine losing a home that you really like because you didn't get pre-approved, you just got pre-qualified and then tried to go out and buy it. And that's why I always coach my buyers through this. Like, and my lenders know what's up. I work with a few different awesome, amazing lender partners. Lisa is really one of the good ones. So if you ever want to chat with her, I will provide her information in the chat actually, so that we can have that later on. Because big shout out and thank you to Lisa for putting this together for us. Um, Beautiful. Let's go ahead and pull that one up here. All right. Yeah, because all lenders aren't going to be the same. So it matters who you work with. Just like with a realtor, it matters who you work with. So just make sure you have a solid team behind you when you're in that home buying process. Oh, hey, what's up, Samantha? Thanks for checking out the video. I think it's beneficial to shop around different loan officers, or could that be bad for your credit potentially? Awesome question. I'm glad that you brought that up here. I encourage my folks to shop around for the best rate and terms, but there's a certain way to do it. You want to do it within a very short window of one another. Reason why is they do what's called a hard credit pull. So the first lender is going to do that hard credit pull for you, and then the subsequent lenders will do the same thing. And you don't want to get dinged for all those. So you want to make sure that you're doing that within a short window. I recommend within 14 days of one another. Just kind of confine your shopping process together. And then that way you can shop around for the best rate and terms available to you. The lender that has the best products that you feel like are going to get you where you need to go without being penalized there. So that way, if you do it within that window, then it's only going to count against your credit score for that first hard pull. Great question, Samantha. Awesome. So 693. Just going to go ahead and plug Lisa's info in here for everyone. Perfect. There you go. Awesome. So, yeah, fantastic question, Samantha. Thank you for that. And then basically, want to hit the highlights again of why get pre-approved. Credit issues. Many home buyers do not know what their credit scores are, even if they have problems with their credit. It's better to know of any potential credit issues ahead of time before getting too far down the lending process. Again, you don't want to already have gotten into a home, maybe even done your inspection, paid your inspector, and then have the deal fall apart because of these issues. Better to knock this out before you write that first offer. Eliminates disappointment for the same reason. Pre-approval gives the home buyer insight into how much house they can afford, saving time and frustration. Skip looking at houses that are out of price range and avoid the disappointment that comes from falling in love with the home only to find out it's too expensive. Another reason to get pre-approved, bidding wars. If a buyer finds themselves in a situation where multiple people are making an offer on the same house, there's a strong possibility that the person who is pre-approved will win over the person who is only pre-qualified. Again, just they're farther along in the process. So through the lens of that seller and their listing agent, that's a file that has a greater likelihood of getting to the closing table than someone here that's still on the start line. Make sense? Nice. Quicker closing. Closing dates are not set in stone. Sometimes things happen and target closing days missed. Pre-approved home buyers have already had the majority of their background checking completed, which is a major step in the process. Again, if there was some A, B, and C that come up that they need to take care of, wouldn't it be better to know about those up front in the pre-approval process and start working on them so that you don't miss that close date? Definitely going to be a better situation for everyone involved. The seller is going to appreciate it. You as the buyer are going to appreciate it because it's not going to be less stressful handling it early on. than trying to rush and get it done so that you could close on time. Meanwhile, maybe you got movers booked and you got to move that back. You have furniture deliveries scheduled, you got to move them back. Like, it can really go down that rabbit hole. So, bottom line, get pre-approved. Awesome. How we doing? How we doing? Nice. Okay. No new chats. I'm gonna roll. Next thing I'm going to talk about here is just kind of that high level overview of the loan process. So step one, pre-approval. That pre-approval is coming up again here. So what are they doing in that step? They're reviewing credit. They're reviewing loan programs that best fit your need, seeing which ones that you qualify for and which ones make sense for what you're trying to do. Are you buying it for a primary residence? Are you buying it for an investment? The answer might change what loan products that the lender is going to look at for you. What's going to make the most sense for your situation? And then issuing that pre-approval letter so that we can submit that with your offer on that property. Step two, make the offer to purchase. Agent and client will negotiate price, write offer with the pre-approval letter, and then boom, if everything goes well and it all lines up for you, get that offer accepted. Yes. All right, step three, escrow is opened. What is escrow? Escrow is the beginning of the transaction. It gets closed down at closing when all the funds get dispersed. But we're opening that escrow account here at the very beginning of the transaction. So the offer is accepted. You're sending disclosures for your lender. Collect and review current income and asset documents, and agreement by all parties on terms of contract. That would be, the both parties agreeing on the offer and making it taking it from offer stage to contract stage. Ability to lock in your interest rate. So interest rates fluctuate sometimes several times in the same day. So it's nice to go ahead and get that locked in at this point in the process, because rates are projected to go up. Not a ton. They're not going to hike up like our gas prices are right now, but they're ticking up. So if you can lock it in earlier, then you're going to be just better off. All right, step four, processing. Employment verification completed. The appraisal is ordered. So the lender's actually handling that. They're ordering the appraisal. So you don't actually go find an appraiser and hire them. Lender's handling that. Title and escrow documents are ordered. Receive and review appraisal, and then submit for underwriting. That takes us to step five, which is the underwriting step. The loan underwriter is decisioning the loan. So they're looking at all your initial loan submission and decisioning it, making sure that the conditions for approval are met, and then reviewing final documents to clear the file for closing. And once we're clear to close, then step six, closing and funding. You get to the closing table and sign your closing docs. Required funds are delivered to the escrow company, and you get the keys. Enjoy your new home. Congratulations, you made it. So that's that high level overview of the loan process there for you. Just so you kind of understand all the things that are happening in the background between, your offer being accepted and closing day, which on average is about 30 to 45 days. There's lenders that can do it a little bit quicker. Sometimes we want to do it a little bit longer, depending on the needs of the parties. If we need to target a certain closing date, we'll kind of usually figure that out up front, and then, work something out that works for everyone. So right on, Samantha. Appreciate you. Yeah, you're welcome. I got you. Very cool. All right. Mortgage do's and don'ts. Just want to give you some helpful tips here for a smooth loan approval. So let's start with the do's. Do continue making your current mortgage or rent payments, even once you're under contract. you don't want a missed payment there that's going to create an issue for this transaction. So everything that you're currently doing, keep it going. And do stay current on all existing accounts. That's not just for your house payment, cars, credit cards, all that. Make sure everything stays good. And do continue living at your current residence. You can't move into the house yet until you actually close. And nor do you want to move to a different residence and change your address, because that's going to trigger, different things with the loan, and it's better not to mess with it. So keep everything kind of that status quo for that 30 to 45 days. Just imagine it all being locked in together, until you do close, and you're free to make the necessary moves that you need to at that point. Do be prepared to source all deposits. So had this happen, a personal story for you. Had this happen when I bought my first home. Lender reached out to me and they said, "Hey, Mr. Ausmus, we see that you deposited this check for I can't remember the amount, maybe $500, maybe, and we need to know the source of it." Well, here's what had happened. I'm a musician. I was playing a show with my band, and the venue, sometimes they pay us cash, sometimes they'll write a check. Well, they wrote us a check. We don't have a checking account or we didn't have a checking account for that band. So I was like, tell you what, just write the check to me. I'll cash it through my account and disperse the funds to the guys. I did that. And mind you, this was about 2 months prior to me even writing the offer on my house. So imagine my surprise when they came back and they were like, "Yeah, you got to tell us about this check." I was like, "Why? Why is that any of your business?" I wasn't even in a real estate transaction when I put that through. Was what I thought, and I was like, "Okay, like calm down, Joe. It's not a big deal." I just had to write a little letter and explain I'm a musician, had to pay my guys. The venue cut me a check, and I cashed it through the account. So I showed them funds coming in. I showed them funds coming out, sent them a snapshot of the bank statement, and then we cleared that requirement for the loan. So that's my personal story about that for you. So don't be surprised if you have some deposits in there. Just be prepared. Even if they happen prior to you writing your offer, they look back in your account history. If they can see it, they're going to ask about it. So just be prepared for all that. And let's see, do ask your loan officer before making any financial decisions while you're going through your loan process. Let's say you get a letter from your credit card company saying, "Hey, you can increase your credit limit," and you start thinking, "Oh, wouldn't that be great? So we can buy that furniture." Um, Talk to your lender first. You don't want to go ahead and pull the trigger on that and then have it actually blow up your deal over here, right? You don't want to lose the house over that. So talk it through. Make sure that they take a look at what you're trying to do, and just make sure it's not going to impact you negatively with the purchase. The purchase is your biggest priority financially right now. So everything else, just talk it through. It might be fine. It might be fine for you to go ahead and do that, but don't make that decision without first talking to your lender. That's solid advice. I love that Lisa included that in here. All right. And then do alert us if your salary or other compensation changes from what is documented on your loan application. I've seen this too. I've seen it go both ways. I've seen my clients get a raise, which is awesome. More money, love it. Just make sure your lender is aware of that situation. So if they ask for a final pay stub right before closing, and they see they're getting paid more, you want to kind of prep them for that. So when they come through, they're not surprised by it. And then conversely, if we're looking at if you switch jobs and you have a pay decrease, same thing. Have that conversation, because I've actually had it happen where a client lost hours at work is what it was. So the next pay stub came through. We had a significant decrease in hours, and unfortunately, he no longer qualified for the property that he was trying to buy. Which Looking back on it, yeah, really sucked. But at least we didn't put that guy into a bad situation by putting him into a home that he couldn't afford. And that's why this process is in place, is really to protect consumers from getting into those situations like we saw back in 2006, 7, and 8, with those loans being written that folks couldn't pay. That situation, don't want it to happen again. So that's why this process is in place, right? Cool. So we covered the do's, what you want to do. Now let's cover what we don't want you to do. The don'ts. Don't make any major purchases, a car, appliances, etc. Um, Wait until you close to get that stuff done. I understand if your car breaks down or something like that, see if you can get into a rental for right now, just to get through this transaction, get those keys, and then go get you a car, right? Don't apply for or open new credit card account. Same line here. That's going to have an impact on your score. That's going to have an impact on your debt to income ratios. And ultimately, it could affect your ability to close on that property. So it's safer not to do it until after you close. Don't transfer any balances from one account to another. Again, kind of the same thing as with the sourcing the deposits. You want to kind of keep things the same as they're at. And I understand you gotta live your life and while you're in the transaction, but that's where having that open line of communication with your lender comes in. If you do need to do a transfer, I recommend you pick up the phone and call your lender. How are we doing in the chats here? Let's take a look. Okay, nothing new. Love it. All good. Let's keep rolling here. Next up on the don'ts. Don't quit your job. That income is probably what they're using to, or at least in part, what they're using to qualify you for the loan. So if you quit and you don't have another job lined up, even if you do have another job lined up, it could cause problems for your approval. So if you're considering leaving the job, you don't need it to make the mortgage payments, but and you're considering leaving it, probably best to stick it out a little while longer until you close. Um, don't close any credit card accounts. Kind of the same thing, even if it's an open account that you're not really using. Just don't mess with things on your credit profile while you're in this transaction. Don't change bank accounts. If you're considering, moving your funds to a different account, it's kind of the same thing as transferring a balance. You know, Stay with that bank until you close. And then don't run your credit before asking your loan officer first. Cool. So all that is there just kind of to help you understand the process, as well as some helpful tips for you. I hope this did helped. If you have further questions, my partner Lisa is fantastic and she'd be happy to help you. You can also hit me up, and if I can't answer it, I'll probably connect you with her anyways. But there you have it. Yeah, if you'd prefer to have a conversation with me about purchasing a home, of course, let's meet up, let's get coffee and talk about your situation there. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I'm going to go ahead and hop off right now, and I'll see you next week for episode 13 of Ask a Realtor. Thank you so much and have a good one.